Donnie at Home Warehouse, Connellsville Street in Uniontown. Shop Monday through Friday 8 to 4:30, Saturday 8 to noon, closed Sunday and holidays.
Home Warehouse, where a house becomes a home.
Are you interested in earning your degree online or finishing your degree? Take your career to the next level at Salem University. Salem University offers more than 50 online degrees and certificate programs. Learn how you can advance your career with degrees in nursing, business, education, criminal justice, and IT. Salem has 4-week classes starting once a month. Contact Salem University by dialing 844-462-9128, option 1, or visit salemu.edu to see if you are eligible for our partnerships offering tuition scholarships. Main Street Theater Company presents Anything Goes, live on stage at the State Theater Center for the Arts. Anything Goes is delightful, delicious, de-lovely. The age-old tale of boy meets girl with music, dance, laughs, and some of Cole Porter's greatest hits. I Get a Kick Out of You, Friendship, It's de-lovely, and Anything Goes. August 1st and 2nd at 7 p.m., August 3rd at 2. Tickets are just $20. Buy online at statetheater.info or call the box office at 724-439-1360.
Hard work, respecting others, and being a good team member are the values that South Union Township Supervisor Jason Scott knows well. Whether he's running a machine, repairing storm drains, operating a plow truck, or working with his fellow supervisors on economic growth, Jason Scott is working every day to keep residents safe, maintain the strength of our local businesses, and enhance the quality of life in South Union Township for our families and our future. Paid for by the candidate.
You'll see there's a whole new Ford for you and me.
It's the summer sales event, now until September 2nd at Thurby's Riverside Ford. Listen up, all new Escape, Explorer, Bronco Sport, Bronco, and F-150 come with 0% financing for 48 months. Now that's a summer sales event deal.
The all-new 2025 Ford F-150 XLT Crew Cab Hybrid 4x4s come with $3,000 in factory rebates, plus 3.9% for 60 months, plus a 2-year complimentary maintenance plan.
Check out these low payments, just $399 per month to lease a new 2025 Ford Escape or Bronco Sport Big Bend with 0 down payment and get a 2-year complimentary maintenance plan.
Ford Motor Credit financing required. 3-year lease is based on 10.5 miles per year. Tax and tags extra. Offer ends September 2nd, but hurry. Thurby's Riverside Ford, your 26-time President's Award-winning dealer.
Nagy service stations, Nagy Gas and Oil, Nagy Propane, and Beer Necessity, located on the mountain by Fort Necessity, extends their best wishes to the Fayette County Fair Board, 4-H clubs, and the numerous volunteers for another successful fair and 4-H auction. A locally owned family company, Nagy Gas and Oil, has been serving the area since 1942, and they invite you to check out any of their locations throughout the county. For more information, call Nagy Gas and Oil at 724-437-7241.
I'll tell you what, Fayette County, it's our time to stand up and take back our county and our country. The establishment elite, the career politicians, the swamp creatures in both parties, they have spent decades selling us out, making deals that benefit themselves and their donors, while the hardworking people of Fayette County and across America get left behind. They tell us to sit down, shut up, let them run things. They tell us, trust the system, but the system ain't working for us. It's working against us. Well, I've got news for them. We're not backing down. We're just getting started. We are the steel workers, the coal miners, the farmers, the small business owners, the first responders, and the families who built this nation with our bare hands. We work, we build, we sacrifice, and we don't need government bureaucrats telling us how to live our lives. They want more taxes. They want more regulations. They want more control. But we say no more. They want us divided, black against white, rich against poor, rural against urban. But we see through their lies. This movement, the MAGA movement, is all about us coming together as Americans. We believe in freedom over control. We believe in fair elections over corruption. We believe in jobs over handouts. We believe in family, faith, and country. And let me tell you, I ain't here to play politics. I'm here to fight for you. That's why I'm running for re-election as your recorder of deeds. Not to be another politician, but to be a watchdog against corruption, to protect your property rights, and to make sure the government is transparent and accountable. And I promise you this, after I win the recorder of deeds, I'm not stopping there. These establishment politicians have been bleeding you dry, raising taxes, playing political games with your money for far too long. I'm going to put an end to that. They'll try to smear us, silence us, call us every name in the book, but they will never break our spirit. We are MAGA strong, America first, and unstoppable. So Fayette County, are you ready to take back your government? Are you ready to send a message to the swamp that we the people are in charge? Are you ready to stand up, fight back, and win? Then let's get to work. Tell your neighbors, because the Hillbilly MAGA train is leaving the station and we're taking our country and our county back. Full speed ahead. God bless Fayette County. God bless Pennsylvania. And God bless the United States of America. And God bless President Donald J. Trump. I am John Marietta, and I am the Hillbilly.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of John Marietta and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Fayette County Recorder of Deeds Office or Fayette County government. This program is privately produced and funded, and no county resources are used for its production or promotion.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ain't nothing but a simple man. They call me a redneck, I reckon that I am, but this thing's going on, make me mad down to the core. I have to work like a dog to make ends meet. There's crooked politicians and crime in the street, and I'm madder than hell, and I ain't gonna take it no more. They tell our kids to just say no, and then some panty-waist judge lets a drug dealer go. He slaps him on the wrist and he turns it back out on the town.
Hey everybody, this is John Marietta, and I am the Hillbilly. And today's show is being brought to you by Miles' Garage and Tire Center, Mung's Auto Body, PatriotsOnline.com, Fayette County Recovery Storage and U-Haul, ACS Metal and Shingle Roofing, JB Market, Thundering Hills Feed and Supply, The Ink Spot, Fayette County Mega Patriots Group, John Marietta for We the People, Fayette Structures, Hillbilly Jon Radio, Gun Owners of America, Highline Motorsports, Solid Foundation Ministries, and Tactical Civics. I want to give a shout out. I want to just take care of a little bit of things that are going on. Number one, the tickets for the Lee Greenwood concert have went on sale, and they're selling pretty good. So if you get a hold of the State Theater, and it's working out real well for. I can't believe how many tickets they've sold already just in the first day. But Lee Greenwood, Ira Dean's going to be in there, and Nick Polito, and my friend from down in West Virginia at Nitro, West Virginia. He's coming up with his band too. So it's going to be a big night. Let's get to it. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? That's Psalms 11:3. I'll tell you what, folks. Our foundations ain't just cracked. Some of them look like they've been hit with a wrecking ball. This is Hillbilly Jon coming at you. And if you're tuning in for fluff, this ain't the show you want to listen to. We're talking about the real stuff today. The decline and decay of our constitutional republic. And more importantly, what we can do about it. Now, I don't care how many degrees someone has or how many years they've spent hiding in D.C. basements pushing paper. If you can't tell me what the Constitution says, and more importantly, what it means, then I'm not interested in your hot takes. The average citizen's been bamboozled for far too long. That's a big word, bamboozled. Let's take the birthright citizenship debate. You hear all kinds of pundits chirping on TV, but have they actually read the 14th Amendment? Do they understand the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof? One more time. Do they understand the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof? Probably not. They talk like it's gospel. They talk like it's gospel that anyone born here is a citizen. But folks, it ain't that simple, and it ain't what our founders intended. So today, we're going to separate the baloney from the truth, and joining us is a man who's been on the front lines of this battle, not just in the spirit, but in Scripture. He's a constitutional expert, pastor, and a patriot, a man I deeply respect. Pastor David Whitney is in the house. He's going to walk us through how we got in this mess, what the Bible and the Constitution say about citizenship, borders, and national sovereignty, and more importantly, what we the people can do to restore what's been stolen. Now listen, I'm not interested in just griping. I want solutions. I want action. But can the average person, yes you, do today? What can the average person, yes you, do today to revive this republic? You can start a local study group. Can you challenge unconstitutional policies in your community? Can you get your church back in the fight? Can you pray and get your house in order? You bet your sweet Constitution you can. So grab your coffee, put down the remote, and lean in. Because today, we're not just waving the flags, singing songs, we're digging deep into what it means to be a free citizen under law and under liberty. Okay. Pastor, are you with us?
Yes, thank you so much, John. It's a great privilege to be on your show and to be with your great audience. And indeed, we patriots need to take back our country. It's been stolen from us. Our birthright has been robbed, and the criminals and the goons, both not only in Washington, D.C., but also in Harrisburg, have been active in doing this for many, many decades. It's not just the past 10, 15 decades, but they've been at it for at least half a century, or some would argue even a full century, that they have been destroying our constitutional republic. And part of the problem is, John, that the American people have kind of gone to sleep. They've believed this lie, and the lie is this, that, if you show up every 4 years and you flip the lever behind the right name, that has the right letter behind it, then yeah, that's going to preserve our republic. And by the way, need to emphasize that we are a republic, not a democracy. Our founders said a democracy is the worst form of government. In fact, you can read Federalist Paper 10 and see that they abhor democracy. So you wonder, wait a minute, why do we keep getting told by everybody, even both sides of the aisle, that democracy, democracy, democracy? That is a lie, John. It's a lie, because in a democracy, law becomes forceful when 50% plus one of the people that vote decide what's law. So if 50% of the people plus one decide you don't have any property rights anymore, we're going to take your property from you, well, that becomes the law of the land. Not in a republic, particularly not in our constitutional republic. You have rights that are given to you not by the government. Those rights come to you from God, our Creator. And this is stated right there in the first two paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. There is a Creator God. It is the very first foundational principle. The second principle is that our rights come from Him and from Him alone. That is, government doesn't give us any rights whatsoever. In fact, the next principle in the Declaration of Independence states it very clearly. The only purpose, and we can underline that word only, the only purpose of human civil government is to protect our God-given rights. And that has nothing to do with, determining what food you can eat, like the FDA and the other agencies in Washington, D.C. do. It has nothing to do with almost 90% of what Washington, D.C. and probably Harrisburg are busy doing every day. They're not protecting our God-given rights. Instead, they're telling us what we can and can't do, as if they were the boss. No, it's the opposite way around. We are the bosses. They are our servants. And we hired them to do a very particular job, and that job is to protect our God-given rights. And really, that's the basic understanding that needs to be restored for us to revive our republic. So many people have come to expect government to be, a welfare agency that's going to, give them a check for this or that or the other thing, or the government's going to provide them a job. They say, the government's in control of the economy. No, that's not the job of the government. The job of the government is to protect our God-given rights, and if it protects our God-given rights, then we have the freedom to create all kinds of businesses, and the economy obviously would be benefited from that, not because the government is manipulating the economy, but because the government's keeping its grubby hands off of our jobs and allowing us the liberty to pursue those vocations that God has called us to pursue. In other words, if it does its job properly, we, the people, have liberty, and that's what was the design of our founders. And if you don't understand that basic fundamental principle, there is a creator God, our rights come from him, and the only purpose of human civil government is to protect those God-given rights, then you will never properly interpret the Constitution. And that's what we see the courts have done now for decade upon decade, twisting the Constitution to say things it never said. And you mentioned birthright citizenship. We'll get into that in a minute. But all kinds of distortions about the Constitution, because the people doing this distortion do not hold those fundamental values that the only purpose of government is to protect God-given rights. They've got an agenda that they want to control us. They want to exploit us. They want to tax us to death, regulate us to death, and that is the opposite of what our founders constructed our constitutional republic for.
Well, one of the things you took off. I was gonna kind of get an idea. But anyways, can you give us a brief bio about yourself before we go any further? Because I mean, you everything you've said is spot on. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I was at the fairgrounds this morning, and a fellow come up to me, and he said about democracy, and I said, yeah. I said that's what we have. We don't have. We do not have a democracy in the United States. We have a constitutional republic. And he just looked at me and he just didn't. He says, "You're wrong." And I said, "No, I'm not." And I said, and I handed him a Declaration of Independence that I had in my pocket, and that's why I don't have one in my pocket now. I says, "You need to take a look at this, and you'll see." And the Pledge of Allegiance even says it's a republic. So I mean, anyways, back to you and your bio. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, John. Well, I've been a pastor for over 40 years, and in that time I've been an activist pastor. That is, taking what the Word of God says and not just preaching it personally, what people need to do personally, but actually telling people, here's how you can apply what the Word of God says in terms of what happens in our society. You know, so like they're murdering babies down the street in a thing they called an abortuary. This is a violation of God's law. Thou shalt not murder. And we as Christians should be doing something about this, you know. In other words, all of God's law applies to us personally, our individual lives, but God's law also applies to our society and what we as Christians, as disciples of Jesus Christ, are supposed to do as a result of what God's law says. So I've been a pastor during that 40-plus years. In the last 25 years, I've been involved with the Institute on the Constitution, which teaches the founders' view of law and government. Not, you know, what some judge 200 years later said the Constitution says, but no. What did our founders actually say about the Declaration, about the Constitution, about the Bill of Rights, and therefore what is their meaning? Not what the lawyers today think it means, but what did our founders say about that Constitution? And so I've been doing that and active in creating a number of courses. We have a U.S. Constitution course. We have a course on the power of the jury that I developed, and that is that's a blockbuster because most jurors will never hear from the judge what our founders said the job of the juror is. The juror is to judge the law as to whether the law is actually constitutional or not constitutional. And obviously, if somebody's violated a law, but the law is not constitutional, the guy is innocent. And that's what juries are supposed to do, judge the law. But of course, you're never going to hear that in the courtroom. And if you even breathe that idea, the judge will throw you immediately off of the jury because he doesn't want any independent jurors on his jury. And so I developed a course on that, a course on the truth of America's founding, a course on the power of the sheriff and how the sheriff and the citizen together in their county can establish liberty. Powerful, the most powerful person you're going to elect locally is your sheriff. And if he's a constitutional sheriff, you can see liberty rebirth in your lifetime in your own county.
Well, we both know here in Pennsylvania, they kind of took a lot of they've kind of. Well, they have. They didn't kind of. They have. They've taken a lot of power away from the sheriffs, and which is unconstitutional, and we both know that. But anyways, yeah. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
And then another course I developed was on the Maryland state constitution, and one of our goals at Institute on the Constitution is to have the 50 state constitution courses. We've got 3 currently, but we got a long way to go. But because all of our local officials not only swear an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, they also swear an oath to uphold their state constitutions, and most of them have never read it. And I know that from interacting with elected officials here in Maryland, and the governor, he obviously doesn't know the Constitution. He's violating it every day. So these people get away with violating the contract we the people have with them because we the people don't know that contract. So think of it this way, John. Last time you took your car into a mechanic to get repaired and so forth, probably before you left the shop, they had you sign this piece of paper. You might not have looked at the details and the fine print and all that, but it's the contract you have with your car mechanic. You know, it says, okay, change the oil and give it a tune-up, and that's what I authorize you to do to my car. But if you come back at the end of the day, imagine, you know, the mechanic hands you a bill for $5,000 because he's replaced your transmission. You say, what? I never agreed to that. I'm not going to pay that. You say, you're not getting your car back if you don't pay it. And you say, how can you do this? And what if he hands you that piece of paper you signed without reading, and it said on that paper that the mechanic can do whatever he deems to be in the best interest of the automobile without your approval? You would never have signed it if you read that. You would say, well, no, I would never agree to do that. That's like giving him a blank check to do whatever he wants and spend all of my money. No, I would never sign that. So if you're entering a contract and hiring somebody to do a service for you, you want to be sure you understand that contract and that you have the power to enforce that contract. And that, John, is exactly what the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the subsequent amendments are. It's our contract with the servant that we, the people, have hired for the job description. The general job description is to protect our God-given rights. And the specifics of how they're going to protect our God-given rights are those founding documents. At the federal level, Declaration, Constitution, Bill of Rights, subsequent amendments. At the state level, our state constitution. You may be in a county that has a county charter like I do, and so there's even three. So there's three major governmental contracts that we have. But if we don't know those contracts and we hire somebody, and they go down to Washington, D.C., and they begin spending trillions and trillions of dollars, which is exactly what Congress has been doing. And we wonder, wait a minute, they're taking those trillions of dollars out of my pocket and the future, my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and they're in debt forever. Well, how do I get away with this? Because we, the people, don't know the standard to hold them accountable to. And the standard begins with a simple question, John. I was teaching up at Camp Constitution this summer, a bunch of young people coming together to learn the Constitution. Anyway, I teach them, when you get the power to vote, you turn 18, the most important question you must ask everyone you vote for, every position on the ballot. You need to ask them this simple question that's clearly answered in the opening paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. Ask them this question: what is the purpose of civil government? And if they give you any other answer but the Declaration of Independence answers, the purpose of civil government is to protect the God-given rights of the people. If they give you any other answer, tell them, you know what? You're really not qualified for office. I invite you to take a course on the Constitution. Institute on the Constitution would offer it to you. You can learn what your job is before you win an election, a beauty contest, or a high school prom king, prom queen kind of contest is how sadly it is in most jurisdictions in America. Before you get that job, you ought to know what the job is about. And it's amazing because I've had, people come to my door, knocking on the door, asking for my vote, asking for money and all that. And I've asked them that simple question. If you win this office you're running for, can you tell me what the purpose of government is? And one fellow had a kind of deer in the headlight look, in his eyes. He was like, stumbled around. He said, nobody has ever asked me that question. What? And you're running for a job, and you don't know what the job is, and you can't answer the most basic question about that job. So he came up with this socialist answer: to create a level playing field, to do for others what they can't do for... No, that's not the job of civil government. Wrong. You're disqualified. So then I asked him the follow-up question: have you studied the U.S. Constitution? Oh, yes, I've read the U.S. Okay. Have you studied the Maryland State Constitution? His answer was no. I asked him, do you have a copy of the Maryland State Constitution so you could read it? He said, no. I said, stay right there. I ran in the house. I grabbed my copy. I handed it to him and wrote my phone number on the back page and said, when you reach this last page, when you've read this document that describes your job, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you then. Oh, he said, yeah. And of course, I never heard from him again. Because he knows that the average citizen doesn't want to measure the people they're electing by that standard. They don't seem to care for some reason about the standard. They just go ahead, well, it's kind of like the beauty pageant or kind of like the prom king or prom queen thing. And, they like their hair color and like their style and they seem to be friendly, so I'll elect them. Well, we're electing people that don't know their job. And, of course, when they go to Harrisburg or when they go to Washington, D.C., what do? They immediately begin violating our God-given rights rather than protecting those God-given rights. So, in a sense, the problem comes back to we the people. And that's the good thing about that is that's where the restoration begins, with we the people.
Man, I tell you what, you're taking all my questions away from me. You're answering them before I get there. But how far, I guess one of the questions I did want to ask you, how far are we strayed from the warnings from the Founding Fathers, and what, and how can we get that reversed if we can?
Oh, we have strayed so far, I don't think our founders would recognize our form of government currently. They would say this does not reflect anything. One of the principles they had is the separation of powers, and we see the judiciary acting like it's in charge of the executive branch, and the executive branch can't do anything without the permission of the judiciary, and they're shutting Trump down here, left, right, and it's like, wait a minute, Trump should be like, Andrew Jackson, the Supreme Court issued an opinion back in Andrew Jackson's day when he was president, and he disagreed with their opinion constitutionally. He thought their opinion was invalid constitutionally, and what did he say? He said, Supreme Court has their opinion, but let them come here and enforce it. Because constitutionally, the Supreme Court has no authority to enforce anything. They've just got ink on paper. They've got an opinion. Fine, they've got an opinion, but their opinion does not rule the executive. And if I could advise President Trump, I'd advise him, ignore the courts. Proclaim to every American what Andrew Jackson said. Proclaim to every American, not only what Andrew Jackson, but Thomas Jefferson also said the same thing. And there was a case, Marbury v. Madison, in which the court was telling Thomas Jefferson that he had to retain this certain employee that he was firing. And Jefferson said, no, you got your opinion. I don't agree with your opinion. Your opinion is not constitutional. Therefore, I'm going to do what I know is constitutionally correct. And so we need people in office, president, obviously, governor, and most of all, sheriff, who will stand up to the tyrant and not allow the tyrant to do that. And by the way, you mentioned that in Pennsylvania they've been stripping the sheriff of his powers, and Pennsylvania's not alone. They've done that in Maryland and Delaware. They've taken away the arrest powers. A sheriff can't arrest anybody in Delaware. It's crazy.
Actually, our sheriffs are almost our sheriff and deputies in Pennsylvania are almost the same as like a federal marshal, only in county government. They take care of detainees, they take care of prisoners, and they move them around. They serve warrants. But as far as them making arrests, I think they've taken a lot of that power away from them. I don't know the whole situation by it, but I do know that constitutionally, sheriff has a lot of power.
Amen. And unless the state legislature has actually passed legislation to basically gut English common law and American common law regarding the sheriff and his role, he can take his power back if he has the guts to do so. And I've been teaching sheriffs in Maryland this. I had 2 sheriffs in my classes teaching them the U.S. Constitution and the Maryland State Constitution, and they were agreeing with everything. It's like, okay. And the classroom was filled with their constituents. The people from their counties who are hearing the same thing they're hearing. So it's like, okay, these people now can hold their sheriff accountable. And I heard later, after the 2 classes were finished and they both graduated, that these sheriffs were ready to go, but then they heard from all their fellow sheriffs around Maryland, and the sheriffs, I forget what it's called, the state council or whatever, they gather together a couple times a year, and they heard from those sheriffs, oh, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And it's like, wait a minute, the law is the Constitution, not the opinion of a bunch of sheriffs. And the Constitution, in Maryland at least, but familiar enough with Pennsylvania's Constitution regarding sheriffs, but in Maryland, The sheriff has the full powers of English and American common law, which means the sheriff is, and by the way, the Supreme Court has affirmed that this is true, the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officers, the CLEO, C-L-E-O. This is a case that Prins v. U.S., that Sheriff Prins and Sheriff Mack sued the Clinton administration, and they won at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said these sheriffs are correct. The federal government cannot direct these sheriffs to do anything. This is the Brady bill that they were being directed to have to do background checks and so forth on all gun purchases in their county. Said, no, we're not doing any of that. You have no authority to direct the local sheriff because the federal government is not over the local sheriff. The sheriff is over the county, and the federal government has no enforcement power within the county of that sheriff except by permission of the sheriff. And they won. And the Supreme Court affirmed that, yes, sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer. So I would argue that's constitutional. That's American and English common law. That's the standard, unless a state has passed a whole bunch of legislation that say, oh, no, we're not going to follow that standard. Supreme Court got it wrong, and sheriffs have no power, that the sheriff should simply take back the power that is his. I think of a friend of ours in Michigan, one of the worst states during COVID, 2020, 2021. Governor Richard Whitmer there said you can't buy seeds, you can't buy paint, you have to close your business. A whole long list of very unconstitutional things she was commanding everybody do in the state of Michigan. Well, our friend Darleaf in Berry County, Michigan, stood up to the governor and said to the people in his county, you don't have to close down your businesses. You can sell paint. You can sell seeds. Your churches don't have to close. None of these edicts coming down from the governor of the state of Michigan are legitimate or constitutional. I am your sheriff. I will protect you from the state police or any other thugs that come from the state capitol to try to penalize you for exercising your freedoms and your God-given rights, and that's my job as your sheriff. And you know what? They left him alone.
Well,
they didn't go after him.
I happened to be in a meeting with the governor, believe it or not. The governor came to a meeting I was, and they're bringing the governor in, and they had a line of state policemen, and the governor's all governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Department of Health from Pennsylvania was there, and they're bringing him in behind this whole line of state policemen, and I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what's going on, and I realized that they knew. I didn't realize it till they shut the state down about 12 days from then, what they were up to, but they knew something. They knew they had to do something. The governor had to be at this meeting to talk to this particular union that we were at, and I'm sitting right there and I'm thinking, like, what is wrong with it? Why are they protecting him in this way? They knew that there was something going on, but instead of them telling everybody and trying to get things right and getting people to the point where they could, I'm completely against what happened with I call it the Chinese plague, but I was completely against all the way they did things, shutting things down, and I thought to myself at the time, I don't know what I'm going to do, because the union was even actually, they were actually trying to talk us into taking I call it a stab, but I said no. I said I'm not doing it. So what they and once I didn't, there was lots of others that wouldn't do it either, and I told them, I said constitutionally I don't have to do this. And I said, if we got to fight this battle, I will fight this battle with you. And of course, they backed down a little bit. And I told the union, I said, I will not promote this. Now I know our county commissioners, they promoted it to the hilt, and the ones that are in office, the two of them that are in office now. And I think back about this, but this was a definite infringement upon everybody's constitutional rights at the time. And I think we should have been looking for the cure instead of looking for instead of trying to prevent it. I really do. I think that's what we needed to do, and I think that's where we would have got to if we would have had if the votes would have got counted right in the 2020 election. But anyways, we'll go down that path another day.
Yes, right. You're right. There was a stolen election that was all part of that same scandemic. That's what I call the thing, the scandemic.
But I guess local government needs to be able to resist the federal overreach. How do you feel about that? What can we do about that?
Amen.
Can we talk about these things? I mean,
Yes.
I'll let you go to it because you're very much more fluent than I am with words, and I appreciate that. But I think the local government has to take a role in everything we do, because if we can't fix our backyards, how are we going to fix the state? How are we going to fix the country? We have to be able to fix what's right in our own backyards first. But anyways, go ahead.
Amen.
Amen. I can step off the stump now. Anyways, go ahead.
Because our founders understood this, that local and state governments are more authoritative and more powerful in most areas of life than the federal government. And we've got it upside down now, where the federal government is the head. Our founders designed a balance of power where the state governments had far more powers than the federal government. The federal government had few limited, delegated, enumerated powers, only those powers listed in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8 being the primary 17 items that we, the people, gave the federal government authority to do these 17 things, plus a few others like a census and so on, and nothing else. Everything else that was going to be done by government had to be done by the state government or by the county government. And where we start, where we've gone off the rails, of course, is that the federal government has become a gigantic, gargantuan control grid over all of the state governments and over most county governments as well, bribing the states and bribing the counties with money that they've stolen out of the pockets of the American citizens with income tax. They've taken the money, which, by the way, we can get into that whole thing and the illegality there, but unconstitutionality there, but we don't have time for that. But basically, they've stolen the money unconstitutionally from the people, and then they take and return the money as a grant to the state or to the county in order to control the activities of the county government and the state government. And we need to break that stranglehold and say, no. Congress has no authority to spend a penny on the subject matter of education. It's not on the list of 17 things in Article 1, Section 8. They can't do it. And therefore, we need to send people to Washington who recognize it's criminal for the federal government to be spending any money in USAID or in education or the Department of Environmental Protection or OSHA. I mean, every one of the list of the alphabet soup agencies, almost every one of them should be completely abolished, including the CIA and the FBI. I mean, just take the federal government and fire 90% of them, and then you're getting close to what our founders' vision was for a limited federal government. We don't need these monsters stealing from us and doing evil and corrupt things with that money that they take out of our pockets, like mutilating little children in the name of gender equality and other insanities like that they're doing at the Department of Education. So there's so much that's wrong because we, the people, don't know the standard. And, John, that's really where it begins.
Well, it does begin at the county. It begins at your local government. It does.
Yep.
One of our county commissioners said, they was asked a question, and he said, it doesn't matter. I have to go with whatever the law says. It doesn't matter what I think on the matter. And it was, and I thought to myself, yes, it does matter, because you are directly in contact with the people of Fayette County. So you should care enough about the people of Fayette County to step up and say, this is wrong. And when you get into the grant situation, which is abominable, it's a situation where I'll scratch your back so you get me votes for my state run, or I'll help you out with your local run, or vice versa, or whatever it is. And that's all these grants are doing. And no matter how you look at it. Grant money is tax money. There's not a tree behind the White House that you can go out and pick grant money. It's still tax money. And it shouldn't even leave our county to begin with. Yeah. I mean, and one of the things that's going on here in Fayette County for the last 6 years, or actually since 2019, our property tax has increased by over 78%. And they just did a 25% increase this last year. And it has got us nothing. All it is doing is maintain the loans from the past. I actually had a meeting with Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, and they helped me develop a debt clock for Fayette County, and we're over $81 million in debt right now. That don't include all of it. But anyways, it includes almost all of it. So if we're not going to take care of our own backyards, and I'm being very political right now, and of course I'm running for recorder of deeds. But anyways, if we're not going to take care of our own backyards, who is?
That's right.
I mean, we have to take care of ourselves. It's just like when you plant a garden. My granddaughter planted a garden. This is the first year. She's 12 years old. She planted her very own garden. Now, she goes out and works in that garden an hour or half hour every day, makes sure maintains it. But if we don't take care of what's in our county and make sure the people of our county are taken care of, how we expect anybody? Why should we expect somebody from another county or across the state to help us out? And that's what. Okay, I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. We need to look at the whole thing. And the commissioner, I'm not sure if it's called the commissioner in your county.
It is.
That was saying, I have to obey the law. You need to ask him, do you know the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, Pennsylvania? And I don't know if your county has a county charter, but if it does, then the county charter. And do you know that this so-called law is actually constitutional, U.S. Constitution, Pennsylvania Constitution, and county charter? And quite often, those laws are not at all constitutional. Why? Because the people in office making those laws have not studied the U.S. Constitution. They don't know what it says. They haven't studied the Pennsylvania Constitution nor their county charter. They don't know what they're doing. They're just shooting. Actually, what they're doing is they're doing what the handlers from Washington, D.C. are telling them they've got to do. And so these handlers wind up telling them, here's what the law is. You've got to do it. You don't have any choice. It's like, wait a minute. You're from Washington, D.C. How can you tell us to do anything in the state of Pennsylvania? Where do you find the jurisdiction to control us in Pennsylvania in the Constitution? Show me specific article. Show me exact section and clause of the Constitution that gives you let's pick EPA, for example. You know, EPA shows up and says, that puddle in your backyard is waters of the United States, and we're in control of it, and this is what you got to do with that puddle. It's like, whoa. Can you show me, sir, in the Constitution where in the world it is that you have authority over the water in my backyard? And there's absolutely no authority for it at all. But you see, what they get away with is lying to we the people, claiming that they are the law and we better listen to them. And sadly, most Americans do, because Americans don't know the Constitution well enough to say, listen, Mr. EPA, your entire job is unconstitutional. In fact, you should be fired. I'd love to put you in a cannon and fire you right out of this state today, because what you're doing is illegal. Your paycheck is an act of thievery. You're stealing from the American people, because read Article 1, Section 8. It gives we the people give permission to the federal government to spend money only on the list of things in Article 1, Section 8. If it's not on the list, and by the way, not only is education not on the list, EPA is not on the list, your entire job is unconstitutional. And if this is a good question to ask any elected official. Have you sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution?
Absolutely.
And quite often they have. And then I like to remind them as a pastor, do you know who you swore that oath to? And most of them think, oh, yeah, I swore that oath to the people that elected me. Oh, no. That's not an oath. An oath is a solemn vow made to Almighty God. Like when you're getting married, you're vowing to God to do certain things. An oath is similar. It's a vow you make to God. It means God's going to hold you accountable. And Mr. EPA, for example, as a pastor, I have to warn you, there's going to be hell to pay for you, because you're in violation of that oath of office. You swore to uphold the Constitution, and your paycheck is in violation of that Constitution. You actually being here to try to control and regulate what's happening in Pennsylvania is a violation of the Constitution. You, buddy, are in big, big trouble. You had better repent before you die and go to hell.
Well, I tell you what, I have Kim Kennedy on the other line. Kim, you with me? Okay, maybe we lost her.
Should be there.
Can you hear me, John? Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, we got to come back to this. Pastor, because we're going to do another show. I mean, this is great stuff. People need to hear about it. One of the things I really want to dive into is the Declaration of Independence, and I want people to understand what that was all about. The Constitution, you can't learn that in a. I mean, you can get. I actually took a class on the Constitution not too long ago, and but you can get an overview in 5 or 10 or 15 hours, but you're never, until you really read it and read it and read it and read it again, you're never going to understand it. And that's just how it is. And I really appreciate what you're doing. We're going to get you over here to Fayette County somehow. I don't know how we're going to do that yet, but we're going to make that. We're going to make that happen for some way. But hey, Kim, we got about 3 minutes left. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us, I hate to cut you off like this, but we'll get you back on again. I promise.
That was a great conversation. Just wanted to share with you folks that I assist Pastor Whitney in helping to get out the word about his work. And so you can contact me at kimmergroup@gmail.com. That's KMMR group@gmail.com. I can also be reached at 484-557-7655. I work with Pastor Whitney to schedule the Constitution classes and also Constitution Applied. How do you use this information? Pastor Whitney is a wealth of information on practical application. I guess you could call it civics. And also we have, in light of America's 250th anniversary coming up, we have an amazing production called Revive the Republic, 13th and 14th generation direct descendants of Governor William Bradford. David and Aaron Bradford join us in that. For more information, please contact us at kimmergroup@gmail.com and 484-557-7655.
Do you have, you want to give your email address one more time, Kim?
Sure. That's KMMRGROUP as in Paul @gmail.com. And also I can be reached via text or phone 484-557-7655.
And Pastor Whitney, do you have a contact where people can email you also?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let me give you my email. That's the easiest way to contact me. D. Whitney, that's DWHITNEY, D. Whitney at theamericanview.com. That's the as in THE, AmericanView.com. AmericanView.com is our website for Institute on the Constitution. Abundant resources available there for folks to learn the Constitution. And I've done a whole talk on birthright citizenship. I know we didn't get time to go into that, but that DVD is available there, or you can download it as well. It's called Weighing In on Anchor Babies. But if you want to contact me, D. Whitney at theamericanview.com.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I had 14 questions that I was going to ask you. I had scribbled down, and we got through 2. So, but that's okay. The information was outstanding, and I really appreciate you coming on. We'll make this happen again. We'll work. I think we can work together in a couple different ways. But I appreciate your time today. I know that you're a busy person, and Kim says you drive about 1,000 miles a day. So, but I mean that's just how it is. I mean, and that's what I found out that you have people that really, really care once they get elected about what they should do and how they should help the people. Because let's think about this just for 1 second. We're not elected to tell the people what to do. We're elected to serve the people. But anyways,
amen.
Hey, I gotta close up. So on this road called life.
Thank you, John.
Yep. On this road called life, you have to take the good with the bad. Smile with the sad. Love what you got and remember what you had. Always forgive, but never forget. Learn from your mistakes. People change. Things go wrong. Just remember the ride goes on. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America. I am John Marietta, and I am the Hillbilly.